2022 season is over and done with, and these 8 teams have made it to the finals. Good day everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we are going through my 2022 Afl Final Predictions. Let's get into it. Alright, starting off with Geelong taking on Collingwood at the MCG. As a Pies fan, I do not think we could win this game by a smart margin against a top quality team like Geelong. Geelong, they're just playing really good footy right now, and I can see them absolute smashing us by, well, not really smashing, but I'm going to say they will win it comfortably by 26 points. And moving on, we got Fremantle taking on the Western Bulldogs, who were lucky to get it in a spot in the 8. This would be a really interesting game of footy. So we got Fremantle being disappointing, I'd say, in their last few matches, and the Dogs, they're lucky to make the 8. So I reckon the Dogs will make the most of their chances during this final series. So I'm gonna go for the upset of maybe the finals. Tip the Dogs to win it by 8 points. Brisbane taking on Richmond at the Gabba. Now Brisbane have been, I'd say, pretty disappointing in their last few games. So I'm gonna go Richmond. I would say they're looking really good. Like they would probably be the second most competitive team in this final series. So I'm gonna go Richmond to win it by 32 points. As I said, I think Brisbane would be really disappointing. I just don't see Brisbane doing well in this final series. Melbourne taking on Sydney at the MCG. Now Melbourne, can they do it again? Back to back, the reigning premiers do it again. They're looking good, they're in good shape. They could potentially do it again, but they're coming up against on the top Sydney side. I'd say Sydney has been well this year more than any year, and they could potentially make it to the grand final as well. But I don't see that happening against Melbourne. Melbourne have been playing really good footy, so I'm going to go Melbourne to win it just by 11 points. Moving on to the semi-finals, then we got Collingwood taking on the Western Bulldogs, which will be at the MCG. Now Collingwood will be playing with their home crowd, which is a massive advantage, because I feel like the more Pies fans at the MCG, the better Collingwood play. So no doubt I reckon Collingwood will win here. So I'm gonna go Magpies to win it by, I'm not gonna go Magpies to win it by 5 points for a ripper game at the MCG in front of 95,000. Moving on to the second semi-finals match, we have Sydney taking on Richmond. This would be a massive game, but for it to be at the SCG, well, it could be at the SCG, potentially. I reckon if it's at the SCG, Sydney could get it done. But if it's at the MCG, which I don't think this game will be, I reckon the Tigers might struggle here. But yeah, since it's most likely to be at the SCG, I'm gonna go Sydney to win it by 14 points. Moving on to the prelims, we got Geelong taking on to Sydney. Well, this is a pretty easy choice to pick here, I'd say. Geelong will be in pretty good form. They wouldn't want to drop out here. I reckon they're gonna go all the way here, so I'm gonna go Geelong to win it by 9 points. And Melbourne versus Collingwood in the prelim. Personally, as a Pies fan, we've played great games against Melbourne, getting a job in the Fight M&D game and also getting it done later in the season. So I reckon this game could go to anyone potentially, but I reckon Melbourne's gonna bite Collingwood back one here and win it just by 12 points. And here we go, the grand final, what we've all been waiting for. Geelong versus Melbourne. which will be at the MCG. Now I reckon these are two quality teams going at it, fighting off in an absolute thriller at the MCG. Now Geelong, we know how clumsy they are when it comes to finals, and Melbourne, I reckon they'll be hungry for a back-to-back win with the mighty Premiers to do it again. So I'm going to go Melbourne to win it by 16 points. And there we go, those are my final predictions. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.